Let's go for it, mate.
3, 2, 1, and there you are.
There we go. We're live, everybody.
Yeah.
Excellent, mate. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. If you're watching this back a little bit later on, I guess. I hope all well. Yeah. How's Hatham this morning, buddy?
Good. I've got my tea. I've got my bouncy ball that lights up.
Oh, there you go, mate.
So
there you go.
That was the office birthday present. That's what you get. A dog ball, which is nice.
Yeah, well, I got a dog shock collar.
Nice.
And of course the old it was the earwax drill. Can you remember the earwax drill?
I've also got.
Oh, nice, man, nice.
Records as well.
Yeah, class.
I'm sure I'm sure there's some employment and fitness related stuff in there somewhere.
I'm sure there will be, buddy. I've not been setting any world records this year anyway. I can tell you that.
Nope.
100%.
Maybe for the most hours consecutively still, I think possibly might be one of them.
yeah. I'm giving professional snipers a run for their money some days. Cool. Right, guys, let's get into it then. So just to sort of touch on where we were last week, we were having a brief look at sort of getting into volunteering and just looking at how we might go down the route of looking at sort of vocational tasters, how we might be able to pick out volunteer roles or eventually job roles that are going to sort of be suitable to us as individuals, maybe play to our strengths a little bit, but sort of looking at even, obviously there's different areas within different vocations as well, isn't there, that are going to require loads of different qualifications. Like we sort of mentioned last week, if you go to a gym, you're going to have personal trainers who've got their qualifications, and you've got receptionists and the admin who've got their qualifications, and then class instructors might have different qualifications altogether. So there's no sort of, you're not really going to be pigeonholed so much by saying I'm going to try this vocational area, be it construction or hairdressing, or again it could be health and fitness sort of related, and then it might just be doing a little bit more research into certain job roles that are available within that sort of area, and we looked at a good website last week. So if that's something that you've sort of maybe not got round to doing yet, definitely go back and check out last week's session, because me and Daniel navigated our way through this website that we've been using just to go on and do a little bit of research, the sort of stuff that's required for different sort of job roles. How if you'll see a job post or a volunteer post, it'll tell you what they're expecting from candidates and stuff like that. Do you need to be hardworking? Do you need to be self-motivated? Do you need to be good with time management? All of those skills and qualities. Yeah. I just gonna, not to say that you can't improve on stuff that you don't feel that you're great at. That's something that we're going to look at today as well. Self-reflection and working on areas where we feel we could improve and where we want to improve, of course, because the best way to figure out the way to proceed is figure out where you want to end up, isn't it? It's exactly the same as when we're looking at our fitness. If we decide that we want to put a little bit of weight on or a little bit of muscle on, the way that we need to go about things is going to be totally different if we're trying to lose a little bit of weight or improve our strength or something. So we need to figure out where we're going before we figure out what skills and what qualities we need to work on to make sure that we're going to be a good fit in that position. So yeah, we looked at a little bit of volunteering. Do it life actually now. Yeah, it has changed. Yeah.
I got caught out with this in one of the sessions. So I was like, hang on a minute, what's this website like?
Yeah, Melly mentioned last week it changed.
It's still largely the same if you click on Discover, right? Like if you go, so when you tap out, I'll just show you. I mean, you probably did this last week, but if you go to doit.org, it directs you to doit.live.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Click on Discover. It's the same volunteering search that you used to do.
Yeah.
As you can see there, there's 1.5 million places across the UK. So you just need to do your filters.
Yeah.
In and all that sort of stuff.
And of course, something that we did discover last week as well that I thought was quite handy was that there's actually a work from home filter as well. Yes. So if you need to be at home or if maybe transport's not the easiest for you, maybe you're not comfortable getting on a bus or a couple of buses or a metro or something like that to get to wherever you need to be. Yeah. Maybe you are a little bit more at risk, but hopefully you should have had your first vaccine by now if that is the case, or at least have a date for that. But of course, I think even after first vaccine, after second vaccine, after restrictions are lifted, I think people are going to have to go back to things at their own pace and when they're comfortable, you know. So of course there probably will be some positions that are saying, look, people are vaccinated, we've lifted restrictions, we can be in the office, work from home is not going to be quite as available. But of course, for people who need that, that is something that we can actually filter through that website as well. So I thought that was really cool, actually.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and of course, there's all sorts of other filters on there we can use. You know, even just outcomes for yourself. Do you want to meet new people or meet new friends, or you know, feel like you're helping others? All of those are options we can go on there and sort of toggle on and off as well. So plenty to be getting on with there. And of course, we went away, did a little bit of research over the last week, hopefully, and we've pulled out a few different vocational areas that we're keen to look into, and then jobs within those vocational areas. And what we did last week, we actually pulled out particular posts and looked at, you know, the skills that they're sort of saying that they expect or require from their candidates, and even just sort of planned it out a little bit more, you know. We use them the chart and the tracker that we've got in our workbook to say, you know, this is a position that's going to need me in Monday morning, Thursday morning, Friday afternoon, that sort of thing, and we could sort of go from there. And that's something that we're going to build on a little bit today. And then we looked at starting to put together a CV as well, or what sort of goes into a CV. Because Haytham, I'm sure you've written CVs over the years as well. You know, it's like what do you put in? What do you leave out? Like, do you make the CV relevant to the job that you're applying for, or do you make the CV as broad as possible and do a cover letter that's sort of relevant to the job? That's the way that I've kind of always done it, and just made the CV almost like a one size fits all. Like, it's very black and white, isn't it? Like, I think this is me, this is what I've done, sort of thing. Yeah.
When we look at it on the SET PD, which is one of the other courses we've done, which is skills for employment training and personal development, it's a little bit, it depends on your subject area. If you're going for a very specific job, it might be worth tailoring your CV to it, depending on what it is. Do you know what I mean? If you've got like relevant qualifications in, say, warehousing, and you're going for a job at one of the, I don't know, like Royal Mail or Amazon or somewhere like that, you're going to have to mention those, whether that's in your cover letter or on your CV, as long as it's in there, basically.
Yeah, get it in there without dragging it out across like 4 or 5 pages where they're going to have to sift through and go and try and
one
find
page
it.
tends to be ideal, if you can. So if you've got the time and the you know, the skills and the knowledge, which obviously we can help you with, it might maybe worth having separate CVs for separate things. You know, one was for retail and one was for like admin work.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually.
If you can, but obviously, like Rob says, the other way around it is to write a bespoke cover letter, like, or sometimes on Indeed, for example, like it'll ask you why you think you'd be suited to this role, and then that's basically your cover letter. It's a digital cover letter that they'll receive, and you can type that information in there as well.
And that was the thing that's a really good other sort of point that you'd mentioned as well, buddy. You know, how we can sort of, if you have maybe picked a role or a vocational area that sort of interests yourself, and you've got a lot of qualifications relevant to that, you know, try and build your CV around that. I mean, I did that when I'd been personal training for about 3 or 4 years. And that was a lot of the most recent experience that I had. And of course, jobs that I was applying for were based around that, you know, either PT mentors or within certain other gyms or stuff like that. So I realized that, you know, I could put maybe a sentence saying that I worked at Argos and did customer service, so I was in customer facing job, but then, you know, didn't really go into it too much that I went and worked on a production line in a factory for a little bit, because it's not massively relevant. And then I just made the majority of it about my personal training experience. I think more like a portfolio as much as anything.
Yeah, I think I was going to say the other thing, what you've got to remember as well is they're not going to read all the in-depth stuff. Like, if they're interested in that part of it, they'll ask you about it in an interview, or they'll ask you to provide more information. So if you just list it on there, the dates you did it from, it shows that you've got that experience. And if it's something you can talk about when they ask you. Sometimes they'll ask you questions in like an interview or over the phone or whatever it is. Like, they'll ask you, also, you know, why do you think you'd be suited to this role? And you say, oh, you know, when I worked at Argos, I did X, Y, Z. Or when I was, you know, working in the gym, I did these were my responsibilities, so I've already got those skills. That sort of thing. Like, you don't have to put all that on the CV.
Yeah.
It's just stuff that they can prompt you with and ask you. So, what did you do at your time as like floor manager in the like the warehouse?
Yeah.
Or, you
Yeah,
know,
of course.
what did you do in your admin role? They can ask you, or you can talk about it. Like, either way,
Yeah.
gives you some prompt, little you know, things you can talk about, so your mind doesn't go blank when you're in the interview.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a really good point as well, buddy. You know, it's very sort of like it's a fact, isn't it? You know, you've got that qualification, you've got that experience, you can put that on there. If they think that might be relevant, let them, like you say, buddy, maybe ask any questions when it gets round to an interview sort of setting.
Yeah.
Because again, if you give them your CV and it's like a leather-bound hardback, it's probably going to go bottom of the pile in it, and they'll and they'll just go through ones where they can scan through.
It'll go in the bin. Is the research suggests that they will just not read it if it's too long.
Yeah.
So you're better off
short and sweet.
Yeah, pretty much bullet points at, you know, with some dates, key dates, key skills, and obviously where it was. And
yeah, definitely.
I think volunteering's a little bit easier to navigate through the application process, because obviously it's in their interest to get volunteers in.
Of course,
when it comes to jobs, it's a little bit harder because there's more competition. So it's just something to bear in mind, that like when you're looking for a job specifically, tailoring it you might be more successful. But, you know, we can help with that sort of stuff. Like I say, we've got workshops and courses around doing things like that.
Well, of course, yeah, you know, and CV is something that we're going to look at a little bit on this course as well, you know. So, plenty of, I'm sure there'll be plenty of advice between you and myself, buddy, where we can
hope so.
help people get that squared up, And then we looked at just to finish up last week's session, we looked at our introduction to sort of circuit training. Not so much circuit training as sort of like the idea, but the way that we could use certain tools, materials, resources to make running a class a little bit easier and a little bit more sort of focused and a little bit more sort of concentrated, you know, rather than obviously from an instructor's point of view, you know, assuming we were going into that as a vocational area as like sort of I did.
Yeah.
You know, for me, the ability to have exercise cards where I know that everybody who gets to their next station is going to know what they're doing, how to do it safely, and I don't need to have like eyes in the back of my head to keep an eye on everybody all at the same time.
Yeah.
Of course, you kind of do, and you do need to be able to make sure everybody is sort of doing what's on the card as well. But it's just so much more sort of peace of mind. And when it comes to sort of practical activities and stuff like that, we've got all sorts of resources, materials that we can use to just sort of help simplify that a little bit. So yeah, that was something that we sort of touched on last week as well. So if we can just spin on to the next slide, please, buddy. What we're going to cover today, we're going to finish up the participating in vocational tasters workbook. So like I'm saying, just sort of taking those job roles and there's volunteer roles that we've gone away and looked at in the last couple of weeks, and just filling in the last little bits of information that we might need and sort of assessing how suitable we might be for those job roles, you know. So we're going to be looking at hazards in the workplace as well, you know, hazards, identifying hazards, and risk assessments as well, you know, because risk assessments are pretty much I can't think of a job that wouldn't require some kind of risk assessment, hazard assessment these days for sure, you know. And then strengths and areas for improvement for different job roles. So sort of taking a little bit of a step back, and you know me, buddy, I'm always on about sort of self-reflection and that sort of thing, you know, and looking at, you know, what do I feel like I'm good at? What's my strengths? Can I maybe pursue volunteer positions or hopefully employment positions that sort of bring those strengths into play and can utilize those? And then maybe if there's stuff that interests you, but you feel as though, you know, you've done a little bit of research and you're finding that all these positions are asking for someone who, you know, maybe is a little bit more self-motivated or has got time management skills. If you don't feel like those are areas that you're great at, but that's like this vocational area that you'd like to pursue, you know, it gives you an idea where to start and what we could maybe look to improve, you know.
Yeah.
That's always been a big thing. like I say again, when I went into personal training, I realised that I've done my qualification, I've got all this information up here, and then I realised that that's not all it takes. You need the ability to get the information across to whoever it is that you're working with. You need to have a little bit of even just confidence to go up to somebody in the gym floor and approach them, because chances are they're not going to come to you, especially at first. You know, I sort of landed in a role where I was self-employed. So then I've got to go away and look at sort of the money management, time management, that sort of side of things as well. So although I've always been into fitness, I've always been into sort of activities and being outdoors and stuff like that, I soon realised that in order for me to do the role that I wanted to do, I still had areas that I needed to go away and improve on. And of course, that's kind of the first step to improving, isn't it? Acknowledging where we need to.
Yeah.
And then, of course, realizing that no matter how suitable we are ourselves for a job role, no matter how passionate we might be about it, we've got to acknowledge that every job is always going to have positives and negatives, isn't it? You know, some of them might be, you know, just for example, I was offered like a night shift when I was at the factory. So you've got extra pay, you're getting sort of because you're working unsociable hours,
shift allowance and everything, don't you?
Shift allowance, yeah. At the same time, it was so antisocial, and the hours were so antisocial, it just didn't work for me. So I said no, thank you. I'd rather stay on day shift, or I'd rather stay on sort of maybe working in the office.
Yeah,
that was 9 to 5, and I was going to be finishing up at sort of tea time every day. So yeah, there are pros and cons to every job, you know. For all, I absolutely love personal training. It was a lot of sort of being self-employed, dotting about, you know, doing classes with Mel at Bede College, then going over to Concert and doing chair-based exercise in retirement homes, then going down to Newton Aycliffe and teaching sort of other fitness classes as well. It was a little bit crazy, you know. So again, there are going to be pros and cons with every job, and I think sort of just being aware of them a little bit as well before we go into a job role sort of sets us up for maybe the reality of what it's going to be, you know, rather than, you know, you go away and you work on all the skills that you think that you need to go away and do that job really well, and you get in and you realize that just for one reason or whatever, that job role or that vocational area is just not for you, you know. So it is handy to sit and have a little bit of a think about the positives and the negatives before.
You'll also find a lot about your workplace if you do find like a problem and you bring it up, and how they deal with it.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And whether that's somewhere you want to stay as well. Do you know what I mean? Because some places are great. I've worked in places before, and I've gone to them and I've been like, I haven't got a clue how to do this, like, and they've been like, oh, champion, we'll sort that out. Like, you know, you're gonna go and sit with this, and they're gonna show you, you know, step by step what you do. And then I've been to other jobs where you get 1 day's training and they're like, right, off you go, and I'm like, haven't got a clue what I'm doing here, like, so.
Yeah, thank you. Sink or swim sort of thing,
and then they'll be on you though, like hounding you, saying you haven't done this, you haven't done that, and I'm like, I know, because nobody shows how to do it.
Yeah, nobody's trained me how to do that. Yeah,
so,
definitely.
You'll find out a lot, like, in the initial stages. But if you, a lot of jobs they'll stipulate, a lot of volunteering positions as well, stipulate that training's provided, which if you can, make use of it, because a lot of the time, you know, you might not be in that job forever, but sometimes you'll get a certificate out of it.
Free training, free certificate, free experience.
You know, if you're there as a temporary member of staff or a volunteer that's not long term, and they're going to put you through some training as part of it, take it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've been trained by them, and that's something you've got out of it at the very least. You know, obviously, if it's a job, you'll get money out of it as well.
Well, of course, yeah, you know, and that's something again that we could look at, you know, when we're looking at our areas that we want to improve ourselves, and areas sort of within the vocation that you might be a little bit unsure about, that might end up being negatives for you. Like Hatham says, like you might find out sort of early doors in the job role. It might even give you some questions you can ask in the interview. You know, I'm not so great at this. Will there be training provided? You know, maybe you've worked for other companies within the same sort of area, and you say this was dealt this way at one place. How do you guys do it? You know, I don't think it's a bad thing to have a couple of questions to ask yourself in an interview.
I think if you went in an interview and asked like, oh, what opportunities are there to do like extra training, I think that there would be quite, well, they would either react one way or the other, but I think they'd be quite impressed that you were looking ahead that much. You know what I mean? If you went in and said, look, I can hit the ground running with the job. Is there any opportunities to like progress and move up and stuff?
Yeah.
That's showing your ambition and your willingness to do something a bit above and beyond.
Yeah, definitely. And I've always been of the opinion, like, I mean, it's fact really. The more different jobs or the more ways you can apply yourself and be useful to a different to the company or to the business, obviously the more valuable you become at that point, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, like I say, when I was in the factory, I made it my point to know, right, what does this stage of the production do, and can I learn to do the stage before and the stage after? So, you know, if they need cover, or if somebody goes sick, or if the line goes down because, you know, that person's struggling, would I be able to run over and give them a hand? You know, and like you say, any willingness to sort of improve your own skills or any further learning, a lot of places, and certainly sort of some of the best places that you'd probably want to get into would be over the moon with that, and really sort of keen to help you develop them skills as much as possible, which is the name of the game at the end of the day, isn't it?
I mean, it mixes it up, man. Like, I've worked admin jobs in the past where like it's just data entry, and they make no like, there's no lies or anything in the job advert. Like, they tell you what it is, it's data entry. Like, you're typing in stuff, but within that, obviously, like, it's all running on systems and stuff. So they were like, well, we need people who are going to be able to like resolve issues without having to call the technicians down. So we're going to train some of the staff up to do basic like IT support. And I was like, yes, absolutely.
Course,
I was like, yeah, I was like, because I'm bored. Like, to be honest, I'm bored.
Yeah. Just give us something to do to break
4
it
hours
up
a night
as well.
of copy and pasting stuff into a screen. Like, it was good money. It wasn't hard work. I wasn't physically exhausted. I was, you know, but the negatives were, it was a bit mind numbing. And it was like a late shift, so it was like 5 till 9 at night. So it was like, it was just a bit awkward in the timing. And I was just like, you know, you're sitting there and you're just like, so I was like, I'll do something different. That was it.
Well, of course, because it adds another skill, doesn't it? And now, like, those skills arguably probably transfer more to what you do now than the data entry side of things. 100%. You know, so you don't know what you're gonna pick up in the workplace, in certain job roles that might sort of apply elsewhere and open doors elsewhere as well.
Yeah, just take a chance with it. You know what I mean? You might think, oh no, that's not for me, but you can only try.
Yeah. They the factory offered me they put me in for it was a level 2 NVQ in production and manufacturing.
Yeah.
I was exactly the same as you, but I was like, you know what, I'm here. It gets me kind of, and I think it was like an hour a week. Like, a tutor came in and did some workbook stuff, and that was an hour I got to not be mixing paint or blowing parts off for like dust and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, do you know what, sign us up. I've never used that qualification to this day, but it's on my CV. And then you never know where down the line. Exactly,
You might have gone on and ended up being like, I don't know, the supervisor or something.
Yeah, definitely.
You could have quite easily gone and used it, but you haven't because you've done something else. But you know,
I could, yes,
you had,
really.
You had the option,
you know. Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? You know,
open when you've got more, and it's not even always necessarily. It's good to have nationally recognised qualifications, of course. Mm-hmm. However, the experience of being something like a team leader, for example, I know you keep like the factory specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
A lot of people will do team leader roles before they go into like management.
Yeah,
there's no, you don't get a certificate saying I was a team leader, but you've had like
of course
2 years as a team leader, and that's on your CV. Do you know what I mean? Or you were in charge of like, I don't know, like a fundraising campaign at a charity or something. Like you were the one coordinating the volunteers to go out and do like door knocks or face-to-face fundraising or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? But you are in charge of that task, and then you can use that to go on and do something else where you've got more responsibility if you want it. You know, some people don't want that. Some people just want an easy job with an easy life, and I appreciate that, to be honest.
Yeah. You know, management isn't for everybody, and working the way up towards management isn't for everybody. But like you say, buddy, that's a really good sort of it's a stepping stone as well, isn't it? You know, it can be like because the pay might be slightly better, the pay might be exactly the same depending on how long you're going to be going into that role for.
Yeah.
But of course, being keen and volunteering and being the one that'll step up and say, do you know what, I'll take sort of almost responsibility for everybody that's maybe on the same shift and on the shop floor or on the restaurant floor, you know, because team leaders I've seen in almost every area that I've ever worked in, you know, be it retail, be it production, be it hospitality, you know, and that is normally just a case of they'll go around and ask who's maybe entertained the idea of a team leader role, you know. And like you say, sometimes it is just that it's initiative, isn't it, a little bit, and just volunteering and saying, yeah, go on, why not, I'll give it a go. Like you say, you don't get a qualification for it, but experience goes as far as these days as a lot of qualifications do anyway. You know.
Definitely.
Is it entry level jobs that are requiring 10 years experience and stuff like that? It's crazy these days. You know, experience probably will go as far as a qualification in your good CV. So just get as much experience as you can. You know,
I mean,
pretty much like Haytham saying.
There's like part-time studying you can do online. Obviously, like things like what we do. You know, we offer accredited, non-accredited courses. There's courses that employers will put people on, like you were saying, Rob, where it's like an hour a week, or they'll pay you to do it part-time. Like they'll pay for the course and you do it on a night or whatever. Like there's all sorts of opportunities if you just look for them. And I know like there's foundation degree jobs where you basically you're essentially an apprentice, but you're getting a degree out of it as well. And there's no age cap on apprenticeships anymore. There used to be. It doesn't exist.
Okay.
They removed the cap on them because they were like, well, this isn't really fair.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll double check that I'm not talking out my backside. I'm pretty sure they removed it in the UK.
Yeah.
No, they're not age restricted.
Excellent.
In fact, I don't even think they ever were. I think the misconception was it was like 16 to 25, but that was because of how they marketed them. Because obviously they were aiming at college to uni age students. Try and get them in. To be honest, the apprenticeship wage isn't great, but a lot of the time it's got better.
Yeah, because that was the way that I came out of school thinking of apprenticeships as sort of for people just coming out of school who, you know, maybe can afford to be on that apprentice wage for a year or two. Because, you know, they maybe are still living with parents, or they don't have maybe kids that they've got to sort of, or just dependents, you know, kids that they've got to provide for and stuff like that. But yeah, that's really good that they've sort of opened it up to everybody, you know, if that suits your own personal sort of circumstances, then.
Yeah, so that changed as well. So apprentices must be paid at least the apprentice national minimum wage, and it's not very good, but they've upped it. And you know, if you can do it. And sometimes, like I say, it won't be like an apprenticeship, but as part of the job, you'll get a like you were saying, like an MVQ. Sometimes they'll do up to a foundation degree, or they'll pay like your fees at the college or whatever to get you a qualification, like the teaching one that we've done, you know, the level 4. Some people that I did my level 4 in training, certificate in education and training it was called, and some of the people there worked for colleges, some of them worked for schools, and some of them just worked for like training providers like us, and they'd paid for them to do it basically. You get, like specific ones like that, like teaching and you know, like management qualifications and all that sort of stuff. Mental health ones and like psychology, and it depends what area you're in. Like you're saying, there's all sorts of vocational areas, but sometimes the company will foot that bill, which is good. You know, like I say, you're getting something out of it, and you get to do your job as well, which is nice.
And I've always sort of said as well, you know, like if you try something and you don't like it, like or you realize that it's not for you, that's not like, oh, I've failed at something. That's like I've learned a lesson. I've learned something that I thought might interest me. I've learned that it doesn't. I can now apply myself elsewhere. You know, that's not to say maybe it's one bad experience in an area or within sort of like a vocation to put you off for life, you know. But I think you can get an idea, you know, whether certain parts of a job are going to be for you, whether they're not. You know, maybe there are some negatives that you didn't consider before you'd gone into it. There's probably going to be a lot of positives that you didn't consider before you get into it. You know, to a degree, you'll only really know once you start sort of doing it and sort of living it as well. 100%. Okay, guys. So when it comes to any workspace, really, at all. We are going to be faced by sort of different risks and different hazards day to day, pretty much. So if we can, you're already ahead of us there, buddy. The slide was just catching up.
The queue, I heard the
on
queue.
fire, man. Like a well-oiled machine, man. So yeah, there's a lot of different sorts of hazards that we're going to sort of come across as well. Some of them are a little bit more kind of might stand out here a little bit more, might be a little bit more obvious, and then there might be some of them that we haven't really even thought about before. I'm just saying there, Wibbs just said engineering in charge of 8 people. Stressful, yeah. Stress is something that we're about to talk about in a second. Mental health problems, yeah.
Yep.
Security work, you know, a lot of jobs come with this some level of stress, don't they? You know, whether it's going to be deadlines, you know, whether it's targets, whether it's going to be you know, some of it might be sort of circumstantial. Is there sort of friction between colleagues or the workers? Are you maybe not getting the support from management that you need? Especially when it comes to the way that maybe customers are addressing you, talking to you, that sort of thing. It might just be this constant level of attention that you've got to be paying, you know, like air traffic controllers, stuff like that. I've looked at that sort of job role before, and just the thought of just switching off for a second means that 2 planes could fly into each other. It's like just such a high pressure job, isn't it?
What's the oh god, didn't they do like a Breaking Bad like few episodes on the one, and it like
they did.
I don't want to spoil it, but like he's having like a really bad time in his personal life, and he like messes up at work, and 2 planes crash into each other.
Yeah.
That's like one of the storylines in Breaking Bad. So yeah, it's definitely a concern.
Well, yeah. You know, like just that sort of switching. You know how easy it is to just switch off for like a second or a couple of minutes, and like you say, when you maybe having you might be having problems in other areas of your life as well, and you know, sometimes work and stuff like that can help you release, and sometimes it can help you deal with stress, you know, especially if you're lucky enough to do something that you really enjoy and that you're passionate about. But some of them just they're going to be more high stress than others, aren't they? You know, I imagine management roles, you know, where you're not only in charge of sort of, you maybe ordering stock and you're making sure that the shifts run in, and then you've got customers on the shop floor complaining, and then you've got to go and deal with that, and you know, this mentality that the customer's always right sort of thing, and you know, it's just sometimes
like deal with it sort of thing.
You're sort of putting out fires all over the place, because there's no one thing that you need to be really good at. You know, some job roles and some volunteer roles are just going to maybe ask you to be good at juggling a couple of things at once, you know, which straight away, if you're like me and you struggle with multitasking, that's going to maybe add more stress just from your ability of your own sort of mental processes. I like to do one job, get it done, boxed off, and move on to something else, rather than like be juggling this, that, this, and this.
Tough though, isn't
it? It is. You know, sometimes you need to be able to again balance a little bit of both. You know, what can you really do and get ticked off? There might be odd things that you need to dip into and just do a little bit, like a couple of bits, sort of when you get chance as well. So it depends on you as an individual as well. I think where you're going to find stress, what's going to stress you out. So that's definitely something to think about when we're doing that little bit of self-reflection. So what else have we got? So of course we've got chemicals. Chemical hazards is something that you're going to need to be aware of, again, within certain roles. Cleaning roles, again, that we were using chemicals in production, in manufacturing, that sort of thing, you know. That's all stuff that we need to be aware of. Even just sort of, I know that a lot it seems like a lot of lads my age, their first job seem to be in the leisure centre, you know, either as sort of lifeguards or sort of even like sort of apprentices in the gym and stuff like that. And all of those jobs are going to require you to work with chemicals. You know, I'm even sure, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, I know working in hospitality, you're talking sanitizers for cleaning stuff down. I imagine that a lot of jobs are going to require you to work with chemicals when things open up again, because stuff that didn't need cleaning this time 2 years ago maybe is going to need wiping down every time someone's touched it all of a sudden.
Yeah,
you know?
probably.
Yeah. I noticed that last week or two that I was in the gym, as sort of COVID was becoming more of a problem in this country, I pretty much I was like a bloody Western cowboy with like a bottle of sanitizer on me, on me hip. I was, but again, needing to focus on stuff that had never really been part of the job before. So
now it's like a massive part of it.
It's going to be, in a lot of areas. It's going to be even working in shops, working on the checkouts, stacking shelves, all of that sort of thing is going to require probably cleaning down, spraying, just like sanitization, that sort of thing. So chemicals is definitely something that we need to be aware of in the workplace, and are definitely going to going forward. We've got biological hazards as well, which might be, sort of bodily fluids, sort of, if you're working with blood, or that sort of thing, we've got to have protection in place, because obviously without risk assessments and stuff like that, there's a reason that doctors these days have got all the PPE that they've got, all the sterile equipment that they've got. It's all come from okay, we can't be coming into contact with different people's blood and mucus and bile,
not as like a matter of, you shouldn't be looking to do that anyway. You should be trying.
That's definitely not the way that I'd be looking to do it, that's for sure. But without realizing sort of the hazards behind it as well, you know that of course there's all kind of legislation around PPE and stuff that we need working in them jobs as well, and all of that comes about through risk assessment as well. Even working with mold, are you working in a damp environment? Is that something that you need to think about, what you're breathing in? Again,
dust,
when we
were, I suppose,
dust, when we were
all that kind of nonsense.
Oh yeah, as asbestos has been huge sort of the last 10, maybe even 20 years, because it was seen as a relatively cheap and relatively safe building material at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah, apparently.
And then all of a sudden, not so much. Yeah. So
and then panic.
yeah. So again, we've got those biological sort of hazards that we've got to think about as well. And then we've got your more sort of stereotypical hazards that you might think about, which might be slips, trips, falls. Is there like a wire trips across the living, across the room, across the office, wherever it is that you work in? Again, this can apply at home at the minute. Obviously I've got my laptop out. If I put the laptop away, obviously if I'm working in the living room or working in like the music room or wherever I'm at, it only takes coming back in, tripping over my laptop cable. That's it. I'm into my drum kit. The drum kit's all over the place. That's it. That could be quite painful as well. I don't want to be sitting in here next week and with my arm in a sling saying that I've fallen through the keyboard or something like that. But even sort of if we're working around water, again, hospitality, where we're doing sort of washing up, that sort of thing, are we in cleaning where we're using water, that sort of thing, mopping anywhere that we've mopped or has been mopped. Of course, we need like a wet floor sign up as well, just to let people know that even just cleaning in progress. It's something that I've sort of twisted about before, where sort of like I'd get the Hoover out to clean the gym, and then somebody would turn up like 20 minutes late for their PT session. I'm like, okay, I can't leave the Hoover here. Someone's going to roll over the cable. I've then got to go put it away again. And go deliver a session. And in the gym, mate, the big one that got me was weight plates. When it comes to health and fitness, it's probably going to be equipment, kettlebells, resistance bands, weight plates, all of that sort of thing that just haven't been put back. Or, even when you are running a circuit, someone might sort of do their set with the dumbbells and then pretty much chuck them on the floor. The next person gets to that station to do their overhead press. One dumbbell's there, the other one's rolled off over there. Someone's trying to figure out what they need to do on their station with the dumbbell, and they might hurt themselves that way. It can just sort of snowball. So definitely. Sort of bad housekeeping. Even you maybe working at a desk, have you got papers all over the place, have you got scissors that are ready to fall off the desk, have you got stuff that you need to find sort of pretty quick, and you can't, you know, all of that sort of thing. And of course we have a lot of the time we have pat testing that goes with that as well, don't we? You know, that could just sort of say, okay, that even the electricals, you know, this toaster or this kettle that's in the staff canteen has been checked again this year to say that it's sort of up to standard. It's not going to blow up, pretty much.
Yeah. Hopefully, anyway.
Fingers crossed it's not going to blow up before we do this test again in a year's time. And of course, I've noticed that it was on step ladders as well. I've noticed that on step ladders in stock rooms and warehouses and stuff like that. And that wasn't anything that I'd have thought of, you know. Are these ladders safe?
Yeah.
Are they going to sort of fall to bits while I'm at the top of them? While I'm coming down with a microwave on my shoulder or something like that, you know. So again, not only do we need to be aware and sort of always sort of vigilant and be on the lookout for them, but we actually have procedures in place to make sure the equipment that we are using is sort of safe and sort of up to sort of scratch as well.
Yeah.
Okay, then we've got moving machinery, which is of course massive if we are in a sort of factory environment, in a warehouse environment. If we're working behind the scenes, you might be working on sort of you know, you might be altering goods before you send them out the door. Are you engraving them with something? You know, are you same again working in that sort of production warehouse sort of setting? Is there forklifts flying around and moving pallets and stillages and bringing sort of stock in or moving stock out? Do we need to think about? It's all too easy, you know, to have even just a dangling bit of jewelry, you know, long hair that can maybe get caught in a saw, in a machine, something like that, yeah. and all of a sudden we're in a world of hurt as well. You know, a lot of these machines have got a big old red flashing, almost comically cartoon sized, like hit this in case of an emergency, so we can turn it off. It's a kill switch at the end of the day, isn't it? You know, because sometimes you've only got seconds to kill the power to a machine before somebody gets seriously hurt. You know, but then of course, just moving objects as well. You know, in case of being aware of like I say, forklifts and stuff like that, you know, maybe it's crane arms that are picking stuff up. You know, there's a lot of things that we need to think about when it comes to moving machinery. Just trying to keep an eye on the chat there.
Yeah.
Wib says, do you know any Canny League guitarists? Oh, mate, if I did, I'd be recruiting them myself. After an average player for my band, the Straight Jackets. Oh, I'll give you a little bit of rhythm, buddy, but Leeds not mine. Leeds not my forte. Yeah, not you, Hatham.
Nope.
No. What you like on the triangle? There might be a place for a triangle.
Still not good.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with being a triangle player, isn't it? It's just one thing after another.
Yeah. It is.
Okay. So we've got
one thing after another. Like that.
You're writing that one down.
Get that one in the pocket.
Yeah, keep that one, mate. You can use that one. Okay, so fire and explosions is of course something that is going to have to be labelled and identified, and something that we need to be always sort of conscious of as well. You know, have we got if it's a canister, is it marked as having the right gas in it? You know, even a fire extinguisher. You know, if you go and get a fire extinguisher that is a certain type and go and spray it on the wrong type of fire, you're only going to make things worse. You know, if you go and get a load of water and chuck it on an electrical fire, you know, if you get like a fire extinguisher, you need to know, especially in a case of an emergency, what is in the sort of container. You know, handling them, storing them. Are they going to get too hot? Are they going to explode? Is there sort of a crack or something that might lead to a failure in the container itself? You know, and of course, and even when it just comes to fire, everywhere is going to have a evacuation plan and probably run drills from time to time, so everybody knows what's expected, not just the staff, but customers that have been there, and hopefully have been through a drill with that company. Again, we used to do one when I used to work at DW and on Wessington Way. We used to do one every couple of months. We'd go around the gym floor, tell people that it's going to be that we're going to be doing like a fire drill, let them know what there is to do.
Don't run, don't panic, don't flap.
Yeah. Don't necessarily worry about going back to your lockers to get your sort of designer handbag sort of thing. It's just get yourself out the door. Meet you in the car park. Chances are it's just going to be a drill. At the end of the day, if it's not a drill, you need to know what's doing, and of course to keep things sort of calm. Of course, schools do it as well. Thinking back, we used to do it quite regularly at school. So it's a procedure that needs to be in place. Whether you're really expecting a fire or not, that's not even just to do with chemicals or I mean, what bit of a tangent, but look at what happened in Beirut the start of last year. What was that? That was a load of chemicals that had just been stored in a warehouse, wasn't it? Sort of seized from a cargo ship, I think, and just sat in a warehouse. And sooner or later, I don't even know what triggered it, truth be told. I don't know what set it off.
Can't remember in the end, to be honest.
Next thing you know, you've got like an explosion going off that sort of gutted buildings within miles just through the shockwave of the blast. And again, that was just improper storage of chemicals as well. So again, we need to be aware of what we're handling and the health and safety and the right sort of procedure around them as well.
I think it was just unsafe conditions.
Yeah. I thought sooner or later, like you say, we've got to do these things properly. You can't just say this is where we house the confiscated C4, and then just sort of keep building it up and stockpiling it, and then be surprised when something goes wrong or something goes bang. We've got to be on the ball with that sort of thing. Because just like that, that was a case of, from all the reading I did about it, that was a case of, do you know what, we'll put it there for now and we'll find somewhere for it down the line. And unfortunately, they never got to that point as well. So if you know it's coming in, or if you know it's something that you're going to be dealing with, you need to know where it's going to go. Again, thinking back to the factory, all the paint thinners, all the chemicals were sort of locked up in a different place overnight, and only certain people had access to that as well. So we're thinking about who's got access to certain chemicals. Do we need to limit it to a certain amount of people? Just sometimes it's for accountability as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this has been left out, or there's been a spillage in this, that we know that there's only 2 people that's got access to that room. Those are the people that we need to go and ask and see what's going on. Rather than, okay, we've had an issue and potentially everybody in the workspace has got access to that. Where do you even start? Okay, so confined spaces was one that I hadn't really thought about. I don't know if that's just because I've never really worked in a job role that's required me to do that. But of course, there are dozens, hundreds of jobs over the world that do require us to work in sort of confined spaces. Are we working in manholes, sewers, sort of piping, that sort of thing? We can get sort of unconscious, even dying from lack of oxygen. I know, of course, this maybe isn't as big an issue as it was 100 years ago when we had more people maybe working down the mine, and of course the older Victorian chimney sweeps and stuff like that. But even these days, we've got to be aware about poisonous gases that can build up in an area that's not well ventilated.
We've got a boiler problem for starters. Some people have to have, or like places will have carbon monoxide detectors in, because obviously it's odorless. So yeah, of course. It can really sort of sneak up on you as well, and you'd never really know until you go to click the ignition on the hob and on the stove, and you're really going to know about it then. So ventilation is something that we've got to think about as well. And then we're thinking about physical hazards as well. Is stuff too hot? Is stuff too cold? Even workplaces now, I believe, they've got sort of temperature guidelines where if it's under a certain temperature or over a certain temperature,
employees can't really reasonably be asked to be there and be working in that environment as well. You know, that might differ from job role to job role. You know, if you're working in like an area where you're working around a kiln or an oven, or you sort of hard like sort of baking products, that sort of thing, I'm sure that it's going to be a good bit warmer than if if you're working in like a walk-in freezer and walking around meats and stuff like that. There's going to be two different ends of the spectrum, but
I think
most jobs do.
In both circumstances, in a lot of circumstances, you'll need like your PPE, which doesn't mean your mask and your visor. It's like your fleece if it's in a freezer, and gloves. And same if you're working with heat, you need your protective equipment on. Welders, for example, would be a good example. They need the welder mask. They need their overalls that are fireproof.
Gloves as well. Gloves for your hands.
Gloves.
All of that sort of thing. Yeah. So all of us, like already, we can see why there's such a need for PPE and why it's so specific to sort of each job and each role that you might end up doing. You know.
Yeah. Even if that's not your role, like if you work in somewhere that is partly a building site, you'll need a helmet, like safety boots, and a high vis.
You might be there to consult on schematics, blueprints, whatever.
Well, you might just work there. Do you know what I mean? If you work somewhere and they're getting work done, if you have to cross, if you're like a cleaner and you have to cross the yard where they're building something, you're gonna have to put on your safety boots and your helmet and then your high vis, because you don't want to get run over by like the truck or have a bunch of bricks dropped on your head.
Definitely, mate. Definitely.
So yeah, it can even just be like, well, you've got to be here, so you've got to wear this stuff, even though you're not doing anything related to it.
Yeah, that might be something that you sort of has to do, for sure. Yeah. So again, more often than not, if you're being asked to wear PPE or do something specific, you know, there's a risk assessment that's been done and carried out, and has led to that being the safest way to do the job that you're being asked to do, whether that involves you being, like Hatham says, directly involved with these things or not. If the PPE is there, it's there for a reason. Then another couple of things that I hadn't really thought about before, again, was sort of like even just potentially being buried, you know, in sort of sand, building material, you know, on construction sites. That sort of thing, you know. Are you working outside? You know, are you working out in the countryside where you need to even think about maybe falling rocks? That sort of thing.
Like if you're out and about.
If you're in like sort of like a hilly, rocky area, and people might be sort of higher than you in any capacity, and maybe he's dislodging stuff that maybe he's going to roll downhill. You hear about it happening, you know. And if you're out there, that's not to say if you're going out for a little nice scenic walk in the summer, you need to put your hard hat on. But if you're out there all the time, and if you're around areas where that could be a problem, that is again something that you might have to consider.
Even, you know, if there's a work adjacent to where you work.
You
know, if next door is a construction site and there's people bringing in and out all sorts of things and getting dug up and that, like your employer or the place you volunteer will have to make you aware that, by the way, there's a massive construction project going on next door. They're building a big block of flats or whatever it is. Like, there's going to be exposed pipework. There's going to be big holes in the ground. There's going to be trucks coming in and out. Like, it's something you've got to be aware of, because if you're walking in and, you know, you've got your headphones and you're not paying attention, you might get run over or anything could happen.
Yeah, definitely. So again, it's being aware of not necessarily the risks that you're dealing with in your job role or the volunteer role that you're in. It is, isn't it? It's just being aware of anything around you that could be a risk, which is what we're going to get to in a second.
I suppose, like you said as well, this is at home now as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier. Like, a lot of people's workplace is the bedroom or the sitting room. So
definitely.
There's a load of risks. There's probably more risks there than there would be in an office or in, you know, like wherever you'd be, like a shop floor, for example. Because it's not set up. It's not being risk assessed. There's no, like, you know, there's no tidy floor policy. There's no clean workspace policy. It's all just, oh, well, I'm working in here, so I'll shove all my stuff on here. And have at it.
Figure it out as we go.
You've got like big cup of tea on your desk right next to like a extension, and you've got about 600 wires, and there's all the chair. There's like 500 things behind your chair, and the dog's lying down there, and it's just a nightmare, really, when you
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
You've overloaded your sockets, probably. I'd imagine most people will have overloaded a socket.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
If all the gadgets have
Um,
got plugged in.
yeah, yeah, you know, if you are maybe working like even like we are, you know, are you on a computer, are you on a laptop, have you got your phone on the go as well? Is that going to be on charge?
Yeah.
You know, like you say, because there's been no risk assessment done at home for a lot of people, it is stuff that we do need to be a little bit more mindful of as well. But before we move on and get a look at a couple of different environments we could do some risk assessment in, a massive one that I do want to talk about, and a hazard that isn't necessarily so obvious and doesn't stand out so much as being a hazard, is the idea of sort of any form of violence in the workplace, you know, be it bullying, be it harassment, sexual or not. Is it verbal abuse? You know, is it sort of physical violence, that sort of thing? It does seem to be a growing problem. And of course, you should always have somebody in the organization or the business that you can report to with any issues that you do have regarding any of that, you know, be it human resources, be it a team leader or your upline or the manager or whatever. But of course, that's not always going to be feasible. It's not always going to be available. What if the issue is the person that you're supposed to go to? Yeah, you know. Of course, the natural instinct is to just go to the person above them, you know, or but then of course that's sort of they might be like, oh, that's oh, you're undermining my role even further, you know, and you might get even more of a hard time. So that might be something that you're sort of dubious about doing as well. But it does need mentioning, it does need addressing, and it needs calling out. Because there's no workplace that should have any place or any time for workplace violence as well, and that in itself can lead to stress and mental health issues as well. You know, the job itself might not be stressful at all. You know, within a different company, you might be able to go in and do the job no bother, maybe even really enjoy it and get a lot out of it. It might just be one person that's making the job unbearable. And might be doing so for more than just yourself as well. There might be other people that sort of feel the same. But, you know, how often do victims of abuse sort of suffer in silence and keep it to themselves? You know, it's only really by speaking up and addressing this you might realise that the problem's even more sort of rampant or far spread than we even realised in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, so it definitely does need addressing, and you should always feel comfortable having, or you should always have somebody that you feel comfortable going to with any issues like that. Definitely. Okay, guys. So now we've talked about a lot of hazards and where we might see them. Let's get a look at a couple of examples then. So if we can roll on to the next slide, we're going to have a look at Average Joe in his kitchen.
Yeah.
So he's it looks like my kitchen actually when I finish cooking tea. Minus the cat and the bleach on the floor. Yeah, it's but of course, you know, we this is probably a little bit more like the sort of stuff that we're going to be doing at the minute. Because like you say, buddy, a lot of us are working from home or even just at home a lot more than we used to be. And obviously talking pre the last year, I think as much as we can get used to it, we probably are used to it by now, you know, but being home a little bit more. But like I say, being able to just sort of cast an eye on an image or a picture or an environment and being able to pick out a couple of hazards or what might be the most dangerous is a really sort of handy skill to have. Because of course there is a job role itself available within risk assessment, isn't there? You know, there's people that go around and just health assess and risk assess workspaces. Just sort of, they'll maybe freelance yourself out, go into somewhere and say, okay, that's a problem, we need to sort that out. There are companies that would pay for that service for you to go in and help them risk assess, you know. So it's a handy skill to have for a lot of different reasons.
I agree.
Oh, okay. Hatham's ahead of us here. He's circling some nice one, man.
Giving you a few little clues there.
Couple of little freebies, yeah, a couple of little freebies. So, what have we got? We've got a cat playing in bleach. We've obviously got a open bleach bottle that's on its side. We've got chemicals on the floor. That's not only sort of chemical hazard, but that is a slip hazard as well. You know, we can maybe slip on that and cause ourselves further damage. Of course, we've got more water coming out of the washing machine as well. You know, a little puddle there. So we've not only got clothes that we can trip on and get tangled on, we've got again water that we can slip on. You know, Hatham's marked the oven door there that's left open. You know, we can maybe walk into that. Yeah, that's maybe obscuring his view of the puddle that's by the washing machine as well.
Yeah.
You know, so or maybe he slips on the washing machine, puddle goes backwards, it falls into the door, you know, maybe he hits his head on the way down. Like you say, we've got a sports bag there where the sort of strap is just asking to be tripped on or to be sort of offer him to catch his foot on as he goes past. You know, can you get your foot tangled in that, and then, you know, do you go into the frying pans and the sort of pots that are on the stove
with the handles out?
You know, with the handles out as well.
You know, over the top of them as well.
Yeah, always a good idea. You know, electricals over a live stove.
Yeah.
Always asking for trouble as well. You know, so. Again, there's lots of stuff there that are an issue by themselves. Yeah, they're an issue by themselves, but then they add further issues as well. You know, that puddle on the floor by the sink. Do you slip on that and do you like try and grab hold of the side on the way down and just get hold of a knife or something like that, and then all of a sudden you're falling with a blade as well, which is just adding more risk.
Just to make him feel better, he's got double the chance to hit a knife.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, he's made sure he's left it pointy end up as well.
Yeah.
You know, rather than making sure that the pointy end's facing away from you.
He could fall into that open can as well, if he likes, if he feels like it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or if he's lucky, he might push the kitchen roll into the toaster, which he then pushes into the sink, and full on electrocute and burn at the same time.
Yeah, nice. There you go, perfect storm, you know.
All the elements coming together.
Yeah, you pretty much Avatar then, aren't you? Yeah.
How you do it?
I'm just trying to think if we've got any else. I mean, he's got his headphones. It looks like he's either on the phone or got headphones on.
Yeah, I think he's on the phone.
Yeah.
Not paying attention to anything.
Yeah, not paying attention to sounds, you know, other stuff that he might be picking up from, you know.
Shoelaces are undone.
Shoelaces untied as well, just something else to trip over and fall into stuff.
Chain as well, which he'll get caught on something, I'm sure.
Caught on a door handle.
I get my belt loops caught on a door handle.
I was gonna say, if you can get your belt loop caught on a door handle, you can get your metal chain caught on the door handle.
I'm sure there's just off screen here. There's like a chainsaw on the floor as well. Probably, I imagine. I'll fill that one in. Hang on.
Yeah. Baby sat juggling 3 of them.
Yeah. I'll draw a quick chainsaw for it. Sort of looks like a dinosaur at this point, but it's okay. You get the idea. There you go.
That's a beautiful chainsaw, mate.
Very nice, isn't it?
I'll buy it.
Yeah, I'll need the little ripcord as well. There we go. There's a chainsaw. So that's for later. That's for him to juggle later on.
Yeah. When he's done with the rest of the obstacle course he set out for himself. Yeah, that's the last one. Yeah, unless he's just doing some kind of really elaborate, like Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's also drinking a can of Coke, which, as we know, is very bad for you.
Of course, yeah. Full fat Coke might be about the biggest hazard on there. Yeah. We were talking about that yesterday. Actually, I think it's about 30 grams of sugar.
Something like that. And that's reduced as well.
Yeah. That's come down over, and of course, Coke have removed the trace of genuine cocaine that was in their product once upon a time.
That was how they used to get people addicted to it. Like, that's how they do it.
Yeah. So if you didn't know, today's a school day. Every day's a school day, really, isn't it? Yeah. There's a fun fact for you. I think that's about it for there. I mean,
there's matches and a fork and stuff, but I don't know. We'll let them off with them.
Yeah, we'll let enough of that. Chances of surviving long enough to get to the fork or the matches.
He's not going to get to this part of the kitchen, is he? Really
pretty slim. Yeah, he's probably going to go over and fill that recently boiled kettle on top of himself before he manages that as well. So
we'll just highlight that whole area. We'll just say that. There you go.
This
is also a mess.
Yeah, the whole picture's not far off needing highlighting, to be honest, is it really? You know, there's not much that he's doing right or that he's doing well, really. Yeah. So again, just being able to pick out some sort of hazards that are maybe a little bit exaggerated, but there might be stuff that you are going to come across in work environments. You know, I've had colleagues over the years that'll leave the staff room a tip, you know, and just go and crack on with whatever they're doing. Or
but I think everyone's left a pan on, right? Like I've got up on the morning once and been like, that pan's still on. Like it's been on for 13 hours or something.
I'm just waiting for my missus to jump in the chat and proper call us out, mate, because I'm terrible for it. From time to time, it's easy done, isn't it?
Well, you know, like the toast, like a sandwich toaster on or something all night, so the elements just being going all night. You get a little sizzle, and it's like, what's that noise?
That sounds like metal expanding. What's that?
Oh, right.
So it just, again, you know, I think we might be a little bit more vigilant to it in the workplace, and there's a little bit of complacency comes from being at home in an area that we do feel safe and we do feel comfortable. You know, that's again, just we need to be even more in tune with risks in the home, while that is where we're spending probably 95% of our time. I'm just catching up on the chat there, which says,
I can imagine security is a job that you do get probably a lot of hassle, because you'll get people who are like, you know, trying to cause a ruckus and and all the rest of it. So
you're keeping people in check, aren't you? You're giving people bad news. You're giving people news all day that they don't want to hear. Really, pretty much.
When they're doing something wrong, you're the one telling them to naff off. So
and that's where we're saying, you know, some people, of course, like nobody should go to work to get any form of abuse, verbal or physical at all. And that's really awful that happened, you know, and hopefully Wibby were able to do something about that. You know, and then you have certain jobs, again, nobody deserves it at all, but I think certainly like inbound customer service, I think you're bound to get a lot of flack. You're bound to get a lot of again, you're telling people, maybe you're ringing people and saying, look, you owe us money, you know, that sort of thing. Debt collectors,
complaints, and
you're gonna get a lot. You need a certain mindset. I think you need a certain mentality to be able to do that sort of job day in, day out. And it's, truth be told, it was something that I was honest with myself. I don't know if I could. Do you know what I mean? Where all you're doing is giving people bad news and you know, potentially making their day worse. You know, and then there's people out there that can do it no bother at all. You know, I couldn't be, you know, I would get like a bailiff or something like that. I couldn't go to someone's home that was in debt and start taking the couch and their telly and you know, their bed, stuff that they need. I couldn't do it, you know. But again, that just tells me that's not a job that is suitable for me. I obviously think about why I couldn't do that sort of job is because I like to be encouraging people and like to see people sort of succeed and thrive, and I like to help sort of encourage people and push them forward, which is why this line of work and being a personal trainer is a lot more suitable for myself. You know, again, maybe you go and you try different jobs, you go and try different areas. Again, sometimes volunteering in different areas is the best way to do it. You know, because again, you're not seeing it as for the long term. It might be a way to pick up a little bit of skills. It's just like dipping your toe in, isn't it? It's like, okay, I'll try this area. That's not for me. Why is that not for me? And again, that might give you an idea of certain other areas that are going to be sort of unsuitable for you, or it might give you an idea where to sort of refocus your energies as well in a way that's going to get the most out of you and your own sort of skills and qualities.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's spin on and have a look at the office place there. Let's have a look at this office. So we've got all sorts going on, haven't we? Oh, I don't even know where to start. So we've got just seeing if you've already started circling any this time.
No, but I can't.
Not this time.
We've got that.
Let's have a look what we've got.
Falling on the floor. So,
what jumps out to you first, mate?
The tray of coffees and tea.
Yeah. I think that says a lot about our mentality, mate, doesn't it? We noticed the bringer of the brews first.
I was just looking left to right. That's the reading direction. Although actually I missed one, to be honest, because the fire door's pinned open.
Yes, of course,
if the building was to set on fire, probably everyone would die now.
Yeah, I saw a video last week, actually. It was online, and it was just, there'd been a fire in this building, and this building was absolutely wrecked, like gutted, and then they got to a fire door, and he pushed this fire door open. Now the fire door was charred, but he got to the other side of this fire door, mate, not a thing was touched.
Down. Yeah. Well, they reckon 15 minutes. Some of the doors can, if they're treated properly, if they've been coated properly in that, and they're properly installed, it can hold a fire for 10 to 15 minutes.
Really?
Which is a lot of time, really. If you've got 2 or 3 of them, it might stop the entire building from burning down.
Yeah. Well, of course, yeah. Does it burn out? Does it restrict? Obviously, a lot of oxygen being available to the fire as well. There's that to think about, drafts and stuff like that. But
in fact, actually, I've looked it up, and fire doors are usually certified to hold back fire for 30 minutes.
30
or 60. You can get ones that do it for 60.
Wow. Yeah, so we're talking real game changers and potential lifesavers in the event of a fire breaking out. So
I mean, you can get a steel door if you like, and that can hold a fire for up to 4 hours. That one, if you've got a steel door.
Really, I never knew that either. There we go. Today I learned. Yeah. So what else we got? So we've got a fire door that's pinned open, which shouldn't be. We've got someone bringing in a tray full of cuppers. Someone's is already spilled on the floor. That's reason enough to be upset in the first place when a cupper's gone over. There's another one going, and of course, she almost looks like she's focusing on the tray to the point where she can't actually look where she's going.
Yeah.
There's almost someone walking along in front of her with their head in a file. Yeah. Or a book or whatever it is. If they stop for whatever reason and slam the brakes on, and the person behind them is looking on the tray, they're going to bump into them, and there's going to be burns, and there's going to be spillage, and no cuppers for anybody.
Nope.
No cuppers for anybody. Sad times. Okay, what else have we got? There's another handbag down by that lady's foot as well, isn't there? Actually, again, just waiting to be tripped over, waiting to cause a little bit of a pile up. Again, en route to the fire door, if that maybe does serve as some kind of fire escape as well. If everybody rushes for that all at once, if we've got bags that we can trip over, that sort of thing, is there stuff in the way?
She's on our wheel, standing on that wheel and chair as well.
Yeah.
It's, real bad.
Yeah, it's tempting. It's tempting as a certified short ass, pretty much. It is tempting to just grab something to reach something that's a little bit out of reach. Don't do it with something that's got wheels on. If you do it long enough, you're going to learn the hard way. And of course, if you're trying to lift any sort of weight or any sort of anything that you're lifting overhead is something that you've got to be aware of, and of course, falling with that load still on yourself is just going to add to the injury as well. Not to mention, do you grab hold of the door or part of the unit on the way down if you fall, potentially pulling the unit towards yourself and other people,
Yeah.
Okay, so working across from then, just while we're up that way, we've got someone who's got drawn the short straw, and they've got the desk that gets the sun in your face all day long. You guys might notice it some weeks if it's really sunny outside, the sun drifts across and hits me through a different window, so I'll sort of start to lean over to one side.
Yeah.
Because pulling the curtains across makes it too dark. But again, that's if I was working in an office, that would be risk assessed at the minute, and that'd be something that we'd need to be putting into place. Obviously, working from home, I'm in charge of where I'm working. I just need to make sure I'm doing it from an area where I'm not getting that all day long, because obviously you're going to have eye strain probably headaches, that
Yep.
sort of thing as well. And again, cumulative, so doing it for a day might not be the worst thing. If you do it every day all summer long, again, you're going to get sort of long-term effects from that as well. Just trying to say what Will's what Webb's saying there. Have you seen Boys from the Black Stuff? No, I haven't. I'll have to check that out at some point. Okay, so just finishing up this one here. What have we got? We've got we've got a game of pass going on with a stapler.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the guy with his feet up on the desk. You know, if is he? Yeah. No worries, buddy. Of course, he's got his feet back up on the desk. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in school, it seemed like every teacher had a like a horror story or had a horror story to tell about a student that they used to have that had gone 2 feet up on the desk, swinging on the chair, and they'd gone backwards and cracked their head. You know, I'm not sure that every teacher knew a student that had done that, and it probably was used as a deterrent, but it's deterrent for a reason. You know, it can happen. You know, can you go backwards? Can you you know, go backwards into somebody else? Can you go backwards and hit your head on the way down? Are you pulling something with you as you go? You know, does your foot get caught on like a monitor cable and the monitor comes with you as well? That can be a real issue. You know, you're not just falling, but you maybe pulling other stuff onto yourself. And between these guys as well, we can see they've managed to overload the sort of plug socket under the desk. Just where Hatham circled that there, the guy carrying the 2 boxes, we can actually see in the background a plug. And like Hatham mentioned earlier on, we can overload them, ask too much of them, and we can get sort of like short circuits and fires starting that way as well. Okay, I just mentioned the guy who's carrying the 2 boxes. He's carrying too much weight. He's obviously putting a lot of strain on his back while he's doing it. Could he put that on a little trolley or something like that to move stuff around the workspace? You know, if you're moving big boxes full of papers or heavy stuff, ideally more than 1 box or more than a certain weight, you're going to want a little trolley just to move them from point A to point B, even if it's just from, I don't know, the printer back to your desk or your desk to the scanner or whatever it's going to be. We shouldn't really be carrying too much weight in one trip, which I know is tempting. You know, I know it's tempting as a bloke that will try and do the shopping and try and carry all the shopping bags in one trip. We don't need to put that much strain on our back, and certainly in a workplace and when we're doing it every day, potentially several times, we need to make sure we're doing it with as little strain on the body as well.
If you've got a belt, like a lifting belt, I would put it on.
Yeah, that's probably going to lead to sort of manual handling training within a job that's going to require it as well. Again, when I started Argos, I was working in the warehouse. It was all to do with manual handling, you know, picking stuff from the top shelf safely, getting stuff from the bottom sort of bays safely as well. Yeah. So again, that might need additional training with that. We've got this poor guy at the bottom who looks absolutely stressed.
I don't know what's going on there, but he's not very happy with himself, is he?
Yeah, it looks like he's got something flashed up on his computer screen that is maybe giving him bad news. Yeah. You know, whatever it is. You get like that some days where you know, you find out you've got something important to do and your Microsoft Office license is expired or something like that. That's reason enough to stress. Sure. You know, it could be anything. Maybe he's just received an email saying that he's got a load of extra work that's required of him. Either way, he looks stressed, doesn't he? You know, if he's like that every day, sooner or later he's going to get health problems. You know, it might be some in part to the fact that his work environment isn't particularly organized or particularly tidy. You know, he's got documents that he's going to potentially need under mugs. You know, he's got relatively organized system of filing things A to C on the drawer, but it's overflowing. You know, he's got stuff jammed in there. Is it just a case of his organization and his time management is leading to the fact that he's struggling to actually cope with what he needs to do? There's that as well. Just trying to think if we've got anything else as well before we move on. Obviously, we've got an overflowing sort of like a waste paper bin that needs emptying, and maybe it's a rota or a schedule that sort of determines whose job that is. Because you find that's the one easy way to make sure a job doesn't get it done in the workplace, isn't it? Is to just be not sure whose job it actually is to do. You know, or to never, maybe you need to actually assign it to a person or to a sector, or again, you know, maybe it's something that changes like day to day, and so everybody takes a turn at it. But again, that's going to change from business to business. And then I think the last one that you've pulled out there, buddy, I didn't even notice the one bottom right where the company is actually a risk management company. I like that. Yeah. They need to hire one of their consultants in, I think.
All right.
And then the last one I can see is the lady who seems to be, I don't know if it's a box of staplers. I can't say what's on that on them green boxes that she's handling, but either way, she's picked it up and it's spilling all over the shop. Which again, you know, can, depending on what it is, it could be contamination issue, it could be spillage issue. At the same time, it might just be obviously sort of clutter, stuff to kick all over the place, stuff to maybe slip on, trip over. So again, there's a lot going on in that workspace that, again, you know, might be a little bit easier to be critical of than the home space. But again, you know, hopefully we're starting to develop skills where we can look at stuff with a bit of a sort of critical eye and say, like, is that safe? Is that best for the end of the day? It's got to be best for the health and safety of the staff, isn't it, and the people that are working in that environment.
100%.
Definitely. Okay, so rolling on from there, then now we've had a look at some of them, and we're going to get a little bit of a look at the end of the session before we sort of finish for the day and roll the fitness video. Yeah. We're going to be going to pages 8, 9, and 10 of the workbook and thinking of 2 health and safety issues. So the way we're going to do it, we're going to look at the jobs that we've picked for pages 3 and 4. So the stuff that we went away and we've done sort of research on, the roles that we could do, the roles that hopefully are interesting you, especially at this point. So for job role A that we looked at, we are going to look at
what page are we on the workbook, mate?
So they're in the workbook. Oh, you've got it up there. So the jobs that we've picked that we've picked on page 3 and 4. We are going to be going to pages.
Workbook here, like, I'm in how the body works. Why am I in how the body works?
Yeah.
2 seconds. I've got it in my emails. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, no worries, buddy. We've got participating in vocational tasters. Yeah.
I updated this link, but I obviously didn't press save when I did it. So.
Okay.
Give me a sec. I'll sort that out. I'll upload that now.
No worries, buddy. No worries. Yeah, cool.
So what pages do the guys need to do?
So from the stuff we've already done on page 3 and 4, we're now going to page 8, 9, and 10. Yeah. So we are taking the jobs that we've sort of looked at and done a little bit of research from the last couple of weeks, and we're going to be thinking about 2 health and safety issues that we'd need to consider within that job role. So again, we've come a little bit more specific now than looking at vocational areas. We're looking at specific job roles now. So again, we're not just thinking about health and fitness. We're maybe thinking about being a personal trainer, you know, or being someone who's going to be on the gym floor, like a fitness instructor sort of thing. So 2 health and safety issues that we're going to be thinking of when we're thinking about that. You know, again, do we have moving parts on machines that we need to think about? Do we have chemicals that we're working with? Is there spillage or wet floors from where we've mopped up something, you know, or cleaned the machine down? So health and safety issues. Then we're going to be so we've identified them. Then we're going to be identifying the risk for each of them, you know, and saying who it might hurt, how it might hurt them, and then we're going to suggest ways to minimize each risk. You know, and again, that's not like go away and think about something groundbreaking that these jobs aren't already implementing, you know. It could just be stuff like, you know, we can put wet floor signs out so people know, or we can, you know, make sure that moving machines with moving parts get serviced however often, every 6 months to make sure that cables aren't going to snap and stuff. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So 2 health and safety issues, two risk assessment, or a risk assessment for each of those, who they can hurt, how they can hurt them, and then ways we can minimize that risk as well. Cool. Yeah. So that is the plan. So
cool. So the link's on there now. It's in the description and in the chat.
Spot on, buddy. Nice one. Cool. Again, if you are going back and you're thinking, oh, I haven't got that workbook, or I don't know where that workbook is, like Hatham says, it's there in the description. But again, let me know if there's anything you're missing, and I'll make sure that I get it across to you. Okay, cool. So we'll go next slide then, buddy. And we'll just thinking about coming away from the risk assessment thing and the hazard side of things a little bit more. We're thinking about suitability for job roles now, and maybe even trying to identify a little bit more which might be suitable, or what's going to play to your strengths, what areas that you might need to work on to be more suitable for a job that you do want to do. And then, of course, the pros and negatives, the pros and cons, that we do have to think about with these job roles as well. So, identifying your own strengths is some of us find it really hard to do, because it's almost like it's bigging yourself up, isn't it? Or almost like, what are you really good at? And everybody's good at something, So yeah, no matter how modest you are, no matter how sort of humble you are, there are going to be stuff that you've got to sort of know that you're good at, or stuff that even just feels like it comes a little bit more naturally. If you're looking at specific jobs, what role or what qualities do you have? What skills do you have that would make you the perfect candidate for that job? What skills and qualities do you have that might make you stand out from other people that might be applying as well? Can you put on stuff like customer service that you've done in the past, or warehouse, if you've worked in a warehouse before, anything like that, it's really just thinking about your best qualities, and what positive change could you make if you did manage to get the job, is always something to think about as well. Do you actually vision the job or the job role running in a different way that might be more effective? Have you got little tweaks and little ideas that you might be able to sort of even put forward in your interview? If it's in an interview, I'd say keep your cards quite close to your chest, and maybe give them maybe one idea that you're thinking about, so they don't interview you. Take all your ideas and then just run with it. Because of course that does happen as well, but they've got to see value in the fact that you're thinking critically and trying to think productively and trying to make the job easier for everybody involved as well as yourself. Was it that Bill Gates said, if you need a job doing, give it to a lazy person, because they'll find the simplest, most easy way of doing it, rather than chucking a load of complicated steps in on top and like I say, just really making things more complex than they need to be. Maybe you are thinking of, do you know what, we could do it this way, or we can maybe take that step out. Of course, that sort of thinking is in itself a skill that some people just don't have. So again, that might be able to set you aside from some of the other people applying for the same position. Okay, so then from there, we've got the flip side of the coin on the next slide. We've got thinking about areas for improvement. So maybe you've seen a job role that really does stand out to you, and you've got certain skills, qualities that you think would really make you sort of suitable for the job, and maybe hopefully even the perfect candidate for the job. But then there might be other areas that are sort of being asked for, or that might be expected, that you might think, oh, do you know what, I could maybe do with a little bit of work on that. I could look to improve those skills, either in the job or on the job, or even before you're applying or while you're applying. I would always say just obviously just keep updating your CV. If you have gone away and done any other qualifications that maybe lend you towards a different vocational area, get them on there as well. You know, always be updating your CV. If you've had on your old CV that you're doing a course, that would help you be suitable for that job. As soon as that course is done, update your CV. Your course is done. You're not doing the qualification. You've done the qualification.
Yeah.
You know, update that CV. And of course, we're always looking for these areas that we can look to improve our skills. You know, of course, there's some things that you're going to find additional courses on a little bit easier than others. You know, organization skills. You know, maybe using software, using technology. I find is obviously gonna help you be more suitable for certain jobs. You know, so a lot of the skills that you guys do in the digital side of things, you know, goes a long way to that sort of thing. You know, be it putting a CV together on a Word document, be it setting up and using an email. It might be certain stuff like using like photo editing software and stuff like that, which can lead into sort of obviously graphic design work, maybe marketing work. You know, social media management is a job in itself these days. You know, then you've got other skills and qualities that are a little bit harder to get certification that you've sort of worked on them. You know, working on your self-discipline, meeting deadlines, time management skills, organization of work materials and resources. Sometimes that just needs a little bit more sort of thought and a little bit more focus. But again, working on these things certainly can't hurt. Certainly to the point where you would be happy going into an interview scenario and saying, look, everything you've asked for sort of in the job post is stuff that I feel like I can offer, you know, whereas 3 months previous that might not have been the case. Yeah. You know, you might have thought me self-confidence is a little bit shot. So going into a public speaking role or a role where I'm addressing groups of people and sort of running them, it might not be suitable at the minute. Can you slowly work on that and get yourself in a position where you feel comfortable? And again, can you improve the skills that would make you the perfect candidate if you don't feel like you are already, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff that you might not know as well. Like, you know, you're self-confident, you might not have a lot, but you might not recognize that. But if you push yourself to make a change to like you the way you work or take on a new role or start volunteering, you'll notice that comes back, and you'll realize you can do certain things and you are capable.
100%.
Some skills you've already got, but some skills you'll gain as well.
Yeah, and we're all the same. And do you know what I mean? No matter how many skills you've got, there's always more out there to learn. You will always find somebody who knows more about something than you do. At the end of the day, you know, part of the process is continued learning, continued development. Always trying to be better at what you do. You know, don't just get like for example, I didn't just get my level 3 personal training qualification. Then you go and you do, right, I'm going to do me studio spinning assessment, I'm going to do me sports nutrition sort of assessment, I'm going to do stuff like that, because it's all sort of adds to your repertoire, doesn't it? Like sort of skills that you've got, and there's always going to be stuff that you're not so good at. Do you know what I mean? Like even between ourselves, you know, if someone came to me and said, Rob, will you help us with the digital side? I'll be like, no, you could probably help me. If you've done 1 or 2 of the media savvy courses, you probably know more than I do, truth be told. Gary keeps me right.
Yeah, everyone right, to be fair.
Yeah, Gary's like tech behind the scene, and he's like, I'm sure Gary's undercover boss, actually, now I think about it. Possibly. Yeah, I reckon so. I reckon Dan's just a stooge.
Yeah, definitely.
but yeah, you know, you're always going to find people who've got skills that you don't. Of course, that's why it makes sort of services and different trades so feasible in sort of the economy. You know, it makes more sense if I need a wall building in the back garden. I'm going to hire someone who needs to build walls rather than start necessarily learning the process, what that involves, and doing it myself and not doing as good a job. You know, like I say, and over the time you might hone a certain skill set that lends you more towards a certain job than others. But I think there's certainly never job done, I've got my skills, I've got my qualities all rounded out, I'm good to go. There should always be that look to be constantly developing, constantly sort of improving, and trying to get better. Definitely. Okay, so example of some of these that we could think about, you know, certain the certain jobs might be asking for them, certain volunteer roles might be asking for them, or to say that they'd be recommended. Some of them might just be stuff within yourself that you might feel like you would need to work on before you could really do a job, or fulfill a role the way that you'd like to. Again, you know, willingness to learn. Is that something that you feel is a strong suit of yours, or is that something that you'd be thinking to yourself like, no, I kind of would just like to get to a point where I get my qualification, I can move into a job, and I can just go do my job 9 to 5, and I can come home and live the rest of my life, sort of thing. You know, that's gonna apply you towards different areas than you know, maybe if you were someone who was just constantly looking like, right, what can I learn now? What can I pick up next? Communication's a big one as well. You know, communication.
Are we on, what slide are we on here?
So we've done, we're on the examples of strengths and improvements. Yeah.
Cool.
So we've got, communication's a massive one. If you're working as part of a team, communication is going to be key. Even if there's any kind of split on workload or anything like that, you know, where are your colleagues at with the project? You know, what is your sort of responsibilities within the project? Sort of what we mentioned a minute ago when we were looking at the office space. If nobody's been designated a job and been told that falls within their job role, chances are it's not going to get done because people have got other stuff that they're doing. You know, they probably even think, oh, do you know what? There'll be somebody whose job that is. That's not me. So I'll just leave it at the minute. You know.
Cope with that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Pretty much. Is it working with customers? Do you need to have a certain sort of style of communication where maybe you're in sales and you need to approach customers in a totally different way than if you're taking complaints or providing customer service or trying to give them advice, you know, that sort of thing. Are you working in a sense where you're teaching or training other people how to do something, you know? That was something that was massive, going into personal training. I think I've mentioned before, there was a lad who came through the PT course with me. Mate, he was just out of university. He'd just done his sports science degree. He was bang on, like he knew it. He knew his stuff.
Yeah.
What he couldn't do was speak to a member of the public or a gym member and get the information across in a way that made sense and he understood not only what was being asked of them, but why it was being asked of them, you know, because I think it's only human nature if we get asked to do something, to ask why or what's the purpose, like what role does it serve. So yeah, the style of your communication and your ability to do it is going to make or break certain jobs. You know, if you think communication's not necessarily a strong point or working with the public's not a strong point of yours, you know, can you work elsewhere and look into other roles where that's not necessarily the case? Can you be behind the scenes? Are you sort of answering emails and replying to customer reviews online where you're not maybe face to face? Are you part of a production or a shipping line? Even sort of delivery drivers, do you know what I mean? Going around, like, there is a certain appeal to the thought of just jumping in your van, sticking the radio or sticking your music on and just driving around by yourself all day. Do you know what I mean? Just do your thing, get the house, there's your stuff, move on, see you later. You're not necessarily working with the public all day long. So again, something to think about. But there's a lot of stuff on here that just maybe obviously we'll cover a few of them, but if you are watching this back, or even if you're watching it now, maybe just hit pause and just take a few minutes to think about, you know, which of these do you think applies to yourself? Which of them are areas that you feel like you'd need to work on? You know, I would definitely say that if I'm certainly for while I'm working online and working from home, my IT skills have had to come up from where they were. Do you know what I mean? I'm definitely no whiz on the computer, but this time last year I wasn't using like Zoom, Google Drive, anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, I need to do that. If working from home or working remotely was going to be a permanent solution, I would maybe need to develop certain skills that little bit further as well. You know. creativity. For as much as I like playing my music and stuff like that, I love doing stuff like that. I'm not necessarily the most creative when it comes to. I couldn't do graphic design. Do you know what I mean? I just don't have the sort of. I don't know. It's just that sort of creative. Yeah. Probably, yeah, yeah.
I think what
but
puts
again,
a lot of people off with stuff like that, and it's anything really, is well, I don't know how to do it. So you'd be starting off from the basic level. So you'd be coming in thinking, well, I've seen what, for example, graphic design looks like, and
yeah,
what you'd be able to create in 1 or 2 weeks wouldn't be anywhere near that. But that's because you're looking at something that someone who's been a graphic designer for 10 years has created.
exactly. Yeah,
So,
I'm not going to be seeing stuff that's been done by a graphic designer that's gone and done one course.
No.
Or like a couple of courses. Exactly.
It's like anything. It's like, when you first go for a run, you're not going to do a marathon. And if you do, you're a freak of nature.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
You don't have that skill, or maybe you do, maybe you have like a beginner's level skill.
Yeah.
You haven't taken the next level yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe, there's always room to improve, isn't there? Definitely.
Yeah,
and like you say, maybe just dipping your toe in's a good way to get the feel for it. It might be something that you've talked yourself out of and thought, you know what, I could never do that. You might do it and find that you really enjoy it, or you actually do have a little bit of a knack for it, and you've just never really done it to tap into it before.
With a lot of stuff as well, like you can learn a lot of stuff online, and it's not necessarily just creative stuff. Like you can learn how to do all sorts online, to a point where then you can go on and do some more formal training as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Get a feel for it as a hobby or whatever, and then you go and do it like as a job or as a part-time like business or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, apprenticeship even. You know, like you say, buddy. There's a lot of routes available, and there are a lot of ways to get better and develop certain skills.
Yeah.
But yeah, even stuff like a driver's license. And stuff like that, is that something that you would need to think about to get to certain jobs? Obviously, certain jobs like delivery are going to require that. Roadside mechanic, if working with cars and stuff like that sort of stands out to you, of course, you're going to need to be able to drive. So even sort of
anything where you've got to travel, I think a lot.
Yes,
they'll like you to drive.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to get into Savvy Towers to do in-person stuff, really.
Yeah.
If I couldn't drive, living over Durham way, I'd be at least 2 buses, if not 3. Yeah. Not to mention how long that would take. It just wouldn't be feasible, So yeah, again, that might be something that you could look to make things a little bit easier. It might open up certain other opportunities. Again, there's other stuff out there that you could do if driving is not really something that's on your radar or something that interests you.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a couple of different things we could look at there to reflect. Not to say that everything by default is going to be a strength or a weakness. You might be sort of middle ground on some of them and not really feel too strongly either way. But they're definitely some of the broader sort of categories to think about. And just think about where you might like to improve. Right, guys, so we've got a couple of slides to do just before we finish up. Just getting called up on the chat. Wib says, I'd like a part-time job in music. I'm a volunteer, social activity coordinator for St. Nick's and Gosforth. Guitar and keyboard teaching. That's amazing, buddy. That's really good. That's skills that you've learned over a lifetime from something that's passionate or something that you're passionate about. And I'm sure that comes across when you're teaching it, because I think it definitely comes across when a tutor or whoever's running it or organising it is either enthusiastic about something or they're not. I think more often than not you're going to be able to tell, and I'm sure that does go a long way. And I'm sure you're great at that way, but that's awesome. Even better, if we can get to maybe looking at running a music course. If you're saying like working with Sunderland Recovery College, there's a load of stuff out there. There is a load of stuff you can go out there and do, maybe even try that website that we mentioned at the start of the session, try some of the filters, see if there's options to pick sort of music and stuff like that. And realistically, could you look to do paid lessons? You know, is that something you could look to do? Obviously, stuff like that's really difficult at the minute to get started with stuff like that, because you can't just go around somebody's house and give them a guitar lesson. You know, it's probably going to be done. It's probably going to be done online, which makes it a lot harder. But do you know what? If you've got a lifetime worth of skills, or if you've spent a particular amount of time or energy developing a skill, there's no reason you can't do that either. Certainly in a volunteer fashion, people should be biting your hand off for that expertise. Do you know what I mean? If I wanted tips on guitar and Wibs there saying, look, I can teach you certain things, I'd be daft not to go and take him up on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the same time, people are probably willing at some point down the line to be able to be willing to pay for that service as well. You know, so again, you could look into going into a more formal role with that as well. You know, that's something you could potentially look at. If it's something you just really enjoy doing on a volunteer level, to maybe sort of give everybody who turns up like sort of that social side of things as well, and maybe you just get a little bit of enjoyment from passing down your knowledge. Really, you know, like that's what I like doing. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got all kinds of horror stories from 6-7 years in the gym.
Yeah.
If I can pass that knowledge on and help people not make the same mistakes, or maybe fast track certain things. And I know you guys are exactly the same with the digital stuff. You know, how often with that sort of thing do you learn the hard way not to do stuff? I mean, I've even last year when I was doing some of the fitness videos, I learned pretty quickly that you save as you go.
Yeah.
You really do. But again, you know, sometimes it does just come from a little bit trial and error. And again, if we can stop people from learning the hard way, the way that we have in certain cases, it can go a long way.
Definitely. But then something new will come along and you have to learn about it. You know, like we didn't know anything about Zoom or Teams or anything like that. Nobody did. They existed. Like Zoom's been around for years, but it's been like people would use it when they were meeting from different like continents for like sales calls, and it was basically like a high-end business video conferencing software. But now it's like everyone's got it on every device.
Yeah, it's almost like the way I think of Skype now.
Well, yeah, it's essentially. I mean, some people still use Skype. You know what I mean? Skype for Business still exists. And again, it was like a long distance conference call, so you didn't have to be on your mobile. You could be on camera and you could see them and like do a proper meeting. But now it's like second nature. It's
of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah,
4 times a week, if not more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
But nobody knew anything about it until March last year. So, you know,
pretty much.
You have to upskill yourself, and you have to look at like their documentation, and then you have to just, like you say, trial and error. Okay, where's that button? Oh, it's there. Okay, how do you do that? Okay, you do that. Okay, great. You press this, this, and this, and it's just I mean, you have to. Basically.
Yeah, we actually have a media savvy guide, don't we, on how to navigate Zoom?
We have a PDF guide that has some pictures on it, and we also have a video. Available if anyone needs it.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out if that's something that you'd like to be able to get a look at.
Yeah, you do as well. Look, you've got drop in going in for Sunderland based people as well, haven't you?
You what? Sorry, buddy.
On Monday, you drop in on Zoom.
Yes, we do. At the minute, that is the way we're doing the drop-ins. Of course, to save people getting on the bus, coming into the office, that sort of thing. Where we can all do it safely, we can do it from home. It's convenient. We jump on a Monday morning. Truth be told, there's not really much technical needed from your guys' end. Obviously, I set things up, and Gary keeps me right when I'm struggling.
Yeah.
But of course, that's a really good option available at the minute. You know, to be checking in about your health, about your well-being, looking after ourselves during lockdown, and dealing with all that sort of thing as well. You know, looking into nutrition. So again, if that's something that you'd like to sort of join in on as well, let us know. I'll make sure you get the links for that. And again, if Zoom's something that you're not particularly comfortable with, we can get out that guide out to you, so you've got a bit more of an idea what's what.
Yeah.
Cool, right, guys? Let's get finished up for the day then. So, the last thing that I really wanted to talk about was positives and negative aspects that are going to come with certain job roles. So depending on your mindset, on your way of thinking, you know, positives for the job. All different jobs, you know, you might be thinking about positives might be flexible working hours, so you can work them around hours that suit you, fit it around other responsibilities. Is it good pay? Obviously, we work to pay bills. Is that something that's going to be feasible? Is it maybe even better pay than that? Is it going to give you a little bit more sort of comfort, and a little bit more freedom, a little bit more flexibility in yourself? Is it a local position? Can you walk? Can you walk there? You know, if the only reason you're driving and you've got a car and paying for the car and insurance and tax every month is just to get to and from work, it could almost be a bonus to get a job at the local shop. Do you know what I mean? Where you can maybe save that expense, or even just to cut down on the commute. You know, if you can cut down on, if you can say, oh, I'm working at an office that's down the street, that saves you driving 45 minutes, to and from work, that saves you an hour and a half every day. You know, that sort of thing is the reasons that I've come across over the years why people aren't exercising, because they don't have the time. Yeah. You know, so a local position could be really sort of seen as a positive or beneficial. Holiday pay, what's the holiday pay like? Do they offer certain benefits on sort of maternity, paternity, that sort of thing? Do you wear a uniform? Do you look smart? Do you look professional? To some people, that would be a really good, like, do you feel part of a team? To some people, that would be a really good selling point.
We get an allowance for it as well, right?
Yeah, that'd be a real, that could be a real positive. To other people, you know, working as part of a team, having to wear a uniform every day, might be seen as more of a negative, you know, depending on the individual.
Depends on the uniform, I suppose.
Well, yeah, there's that as well. There is that as well. And we've got stuff that might be seen as negative, you know. So does it require you to work weekends or evenings or even nights to the point where you maybe is going to need to sleep all day? Are they unsociable hours? Again, to the right person, that is seen as a positive, because they don't necessarily mind that, and you do get extra sort of shift allowance for working the unsociable hours and stuff like that. Is the pay pretty poor for what it is that you're doing? Is the pay poor in the sense of how much you need to be earning to pay bills and to pay for stuff that you need to? Poor pay might just be the hourly rate. Poor pay might be you know, the pay that you're actually going to be coming home with from the hours that they're offering you. Is that enough that you need it to be? Maybe it's not. Travel, you know, do you need to commute every day? I've genuinely heard about people living in Spain or Portugal and commuting to London every day because it is cheaper than living in London.
That's madness.
That's like, what, an hour and a half, 2 hour flight there and back every day? Yeah, because it's cheaper than living in London, you know. To some people, yeah, that's an option, and that maybe in that situation works as a positive, that it saves money. But it's mad to think that paying for 2 flights a day, 5 days a week, is cheaper than accommodation in London. That says a lot, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, 0 hour contract, you know, is the pay offering you £15-20 an hour, but you don't know how many hours you're going to get every week? Is it enough to pay your bills? Are you only going to be getting 2, 3, 4 hours work? Some of these contracts, you know, you're going to be up and down. Some weeks you might be working 30-40 hours during busy periods. You know, you get used to a certain amount of money coming in, then things die down, your hours get cut in half. You know, if your hours get cut in half, your wage gets cut in half, which is, you know, it's not great for everybody, you know. So wage and thinking about poor pay might just be, is it going to be regular and consistent year round, you know, or you know, are they offering you commission on certain things? Do you get a flat rate and then commission? You know, incentives that might be there. And then wearing your own clothes, you know, that might be a negative in the sense that you might be going into some areas and, you know, you'd maybe like PPE or coveralls or something like that, and your own clothes are getting dusty and just getting wear and tear every day. For some people, not needing to wear a form and being able to wear just your own civvies would be a good selling point as well, you know. So again, even at the bottom, you know, depending on the individual, some positives could be seen as a negative, and vice versa pretty easily. So it all depends on the individual. Just before we wrap up for the day, can we think of any more between us, sort of that might be seen as positive or negative? Again, that might be working with the public. Some people might really, that might apply to their sort of strengths. For some people, that might be the idea of, you know, a bit of a nightmare working with just endless people all day long. You know, maybe you get quite socially burned out pretty easily, pretty quick. That's you know, something that some people sort of have going on as well.
I mean, is it physically demanding? Is it mentally demanding? Is it both?
That's a good point as well, actually. Yeah, what's going to be sort of asked of you physically, mentally? Is it a stressful job? You know, is it a job that's got high demands? Some people need that to thrive. You know, some people need to feel as though they're sort of really throwing themselves at a role, and they need to feel like they're getting like almost to the point where it is a challenge, enough for it to start feeling stressful. Or is it too much where it's just like a dumpster fire?
Or it's just the same thing every day for like ever. That's it.
Yeah, repetition. Yeah, that was a big one for me at the factory in on the line. I remember I got there for my first shift. They put us on the line that was this position that was responsible for blowing off parts with an air gun as they came past. So when they got painted, there was no dust on them.
Yeah.
So like the line moved every 60 seconds, and it would take 10 seconds to blow the parts off. Yeah. So I'd go like, bah, 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 bah. What do I do now? What do I do now? My first day, I was like, Gaffer, what do I do now? Like, can I come over there and help that person with that? Like, no, you stay there.
Yeah.
I'm like, how long do I stay here for? He's like, oh, just the next 10 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And it was just like, I like moving around, doing different bits, picking up new stuff. And like I say, I made it my mission to move around all the different stations in time.
Yeah.
And have that as my designated role, just so I knew how to do it. And I was, even then I was in that job for about a year. And I think the most I stayed in any one job role was like a couple of months.
Yeah.
Not only for developing skills, but I need things changing up a little bit as well. You know, stop you getting into a bit of your own comfort zone as well. And of course, it's challenging and it's personal development, which, like we're saying, we should always be chasing a little bit. But yeah, hopefully that just gives you a little bit to think about and go away in terms of sort of like, if there's some jobs or some roles or some volunteer positions that you've seen out there that you know you're thinking, are they going to be suitable for me? This is all sort of stuff we can maybe reflect on before you even get into potentially an interview position, or you know, even your first day on the job. You can get an idea for how well suited you're going to be for something. And again, you know, like Hatham mentioned earlier on, that's not to set your limitations. It's not to say I'm no good at that, I can't get any better at that. But you can pair it up with, when we're using the do-it.life, you know, you can look at now hopefully certain skills and qualities that the job's asking of you, or saying that they're like the ideal candidate to have, and we can now reflect and sort of be honest with ourselves if there's room that we'd need to improve on, or if we do fail up to the task. Okay, that'll about do us for today then, guys. So I've got a homework slide on there as well, just so, again, if you're coming back to revisit this, if you want to be able to pause and be able to just pick out what it is that you need to be doing in your workbooks, you can just get to this next slide and hit pause, rather than need to sift through 2 hours of me and Hatham talking.
Yep.
So we've got pages 8 to 9 of the workbook on health and safety, risk assessment and ways to minimize the risk. Pages 10 and 11, we're looking at the strengths and areas for improvement of each job role. Pages 12 to 13, we're identifying 2 positives and 2 negative aspects from each of the jobs that we've picked out. So again, remember, we're still using the same jobs that we picked last week and the week before, pages 3 and 4. And we're just building from there and fleshing them out a little bit more. So yeah, we've done this week. It'll be pages 8 and 9 for risk assessments, 10 and 11 for strengths and areas of improvement, pages 12 and 13 for 2 positives and 2 negative aspects. Yeah, and then right at the very bottom and the last part of that workbook, get that finished up before we move on next week. From the 3 job roles that you've now done and researched, we've looked at positives, we've looked at negatives, we've looked at strengths, areas of improvement. Which is your favourite? You know, which do you think most suits you, or which one interests you the most at the end of the day? And just you know, a little explanation as why that's going to be the case. And then that should finish up the vocational tasters workbook, and we can move on to the next one next week. Okay, cool. So important info slide there again as well. You know, if you don't mind, just taking 30 seconds to do the short survey, buddy, you have got that, haven't you, mate? Yeah,
I've got the survey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Check it's the right link, because that's what I was doing now. Copy paste it into the browser just to check.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, definitely, it's not even 30 seconds, to be honest, and it gives us some really important feedback. Lets us know what you guys are enjoying, you know, what we might be able to add or change up a little bit, and as well, it gives us some stuff that helps us out with just doing all the more paperworky side of things, rather than needing to get in touch with you and sort of drop you additional emails and stuff like that, and get an opinion on stuff. So yeah, if you don't mind just doing that, that's massively appreciated. We've actually got now all the workout videos that we've got and have attached to the end of sessions. We've got them in their own playlist now as well on the channel. So at the end of each session, I'm still going to be picking a workout video that I think sort of pairs with the session quite well, or where we should be in terms of the course as a whole. But of course, if you get to midweek and you think to yourself, you know what, I'd like to do a different one, or, you know, if you get to the end of a session and it's going to be an abs session and you think, you know what, I'm going to do a bit on my legs and upper body, you know, you can go on the Media Savvy channel and find all of those videos now and do whichever one sort of stands out to you as well. We're gonna what we're gonna do, buddy, go to a break screen in a second.
I've just, instead of airing the workout video, I've just copied the link to it.
Okay, cool.
So like we've been doing on the other one, so it's there. We'll not air it out. YouTube gets a bit funny when you play a video within a video. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I think if you remember last time, it kept on taking it down.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I do remember actually. Yeah.
In the description, and I've linked it in the chat. For the same as we've been doing on the Tuesdays as well. Just check that one out.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, today's is a good full body with a little bit of cardio thrown in there as well. You're definitely going to feel that heart rate coming up. It was one that I managed to do and film last summer while the weather was nice, and hopefully we're getting onto that point again of being able to maybe do a little bit more outside again. But I hope you enjoy it. By all means, let me know how you're getting on. Again, if there's ever any exercises that you do come across and you're struggling to do them, by all means let me know, and I'm happy to chuck across some alternatives for you to do. Other than that, guys, I think that's about it from me for today. Have you got anything to add here before we shoot?
No, that should be okay. I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to make sure that link is working before we go. I'm just going to double check that the link to the YouTube video is correct. I'm not sure it is.
Was that the workout video?
Yeah, hang on. I've put the wrong link in there. The survey web is in the description, but it's still in the chat as well. It's one of the last messages that the Media Savvy CIC's put in. If you have a quick check of that. I don't know why it's directing us to the Creator Studio. I'm just going to quickly, while we're on, sort the link out to the YouTube video and make sure that it works. It does. Okay, so I'm going to post.
Yeah, cool.
The one in the description works. The one I posted in the chat went a bit weird, and I don't know why.
Oh, there's always something.
Yeah, that's a bit strange. But there's the workout video there. And then I'll post the link to that survey again for you, Wib, if you don't mind filling that in.
Yeah, awesome, buddy. Cheers, Wib. Appreciate it, man.
For you there in the chat. There you go. I've tagged it in the comment. Cool. So yeah, we'll leave it there for today, I guess, guys. And then you're back on Tuesday, aren't you, Rob? And then Wednesday for the level 2.
Yeah. Back next Wednesday for week 4, where we'll be moving on to one of the next units that we've got coming up as well, and getting into the more fitnessy side of things a little bit more as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, guys. So yeah, we'll be back same time next week. As always, I think all the other courses that we're running are always sort of public on the channel as well, aren't they? So if you do see a video pop up and you want to jump on and have a little bit crack, whether you're enrolled on the course or not, we're always happy to hear from you, and always happy to see you in the chat as well, guys. So that'll do it from us then for today. Cool. Everybody have a good week. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you all next Wednesday.
See you guys. Take care.
Take care. See you later.